Hello and welcome to TPT Chats, our journey in your next step. I'm Annette from Count on Coop, and I create math resources in my TPT store, and this is
I am Malia, and I help teachers around the world create their TPT stores and share their teaching resources with others so that they can make some money doing it.
all right. So we're talking about a very critical question today. We are talking about how do you find the time for TPT? We are all super busy, and TPT is just another thing to add to your plate. So we're going to talk about how we manage and balance our TPT with other responsibilities and yeah, how that all works. So let's start. Malia, how do you find the time for TPT? So you are not in the classroom right now,
Correct.
but you are working on lots of things. It's not like you're just solely working on TPT at home. So
I
let's
wish.
hear about
I
how
love
you
it.
find the time.
Yeah, so I am not in the classroom anymore, but that's because I had to move mid-year from one state to another and transferring the license and everything. I had just got married too to change my name, so there was a lot of hoops to jump through. I feel like if I didn't move, I definitely would still be in the classroom. Uh, Funny enough, when I was in the classroom, I feel like I worked on my TPT store more than I do now, and I definitely miss it. Now I have a lot of other stuff going on with, coaching and my courses and making Instagram reels all the time and all the things, right? So I right now am trying to dedicate at least one day where it is only TPT, whether it's creating products for one of my product lines or it's making an update to something. So I have I call them TPT Fridays, where I pick like two to three things that I want to accomplish by the end of the day. And they're small. That way I feel like I actually did accomplish something. And I kind of just set timers during that day of like, okay, this is something I want to do. It's probably going to take me like 30, 45 minutes, or if it's something big or a repetitive task, like making covers or updating covers for something, I might knock out like five in an hour. But I try to keep those goals realistic with when
Mhm.
I do my TPT Fridays.
That's wise. I wish I had a whole day. Like that is one thing. I wish I had a 4 day a week job and then one day where I could just work on TPT because I definitely get a lot done when I have longer work sessions.
Hmm.
Um, but I feel like I work on something for TPT every day.
Hmm.
Whether it's advertising something or like creating a new product. I usually do it either first thing in the morning. I have my
Okay, you're
walking
an early
pad
bird.
sometimes. I am an early bird. So I'll wake up early and like work for an hour and give myself like that time limit and what I get done, I can get done. And then I also tend to do like easier not thinking things at night. And that would include like coloring for example products or so much coloring. Um, or making covers,
Yeah.
something that doesn't require a lot of thinking at night because I am an early bird, as you said. And then on weekends, I try to have a little bit more time set up and it's usually in the morning. It's first thing in the morning. I'll do like 2 hours of TPT and then I'll move on with my day. And I'm very good at like compartmentalizing. Like, okay, we're done with that. We're gonna do kid stuff or clean the
Right.
house or whatever, something else. But trying to set, I think it's like what you prioritize, you do, right?
Hmm.
So for me, TPT is a priority because it's like an income. It's like a job. So
Right.
it's if I
Right.
don't do it, it's not gonna, create a revenue source. So I definitely prioritize it at least a little bit every day so that it's not overwhelming
Right.
to,
Well, with you too. So
create.
you're in the classroom full time and you have two kids. Like, I don't know. I can barely keep my own head above water. It's just me basically. So kudos to you. I don't, how do you do it with like kids and going to school? Like besides that hour of work time in the morning, how do you think that you balance it all? Because you do it, I think you do it very well.
Thank you. The kids know like when I'm working and they'll watch because some of the things are like graphically appealing and they're like, oh, put that there, they help, but they know that this is like my job or a job of mine. So they'll respect that pretty much. They're older, they're 6 and 8. So they tend to play for a little while. only for so long though. So I have to like
Right.
really, utilize that time very wisely and then really intentional time with the kids after so that it's like they know that I will be there at some point. It's not always a distraction. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So you have very short work sessions, right? You have, your free time. So how do you prioritize something during those short work sessions? And then what advice do you
I
have?
Yeah, I like to batch things. So I create resources for second through seventh grade now. I did not start out that way. I started creating resources for my classroom. So it was like, what do I need in the classroom this week? That's what I'm creating this week. How can I make it a creative resource for my classroom? Now that I've expanded grade levels, I create the same thing for all of the grade levels, tweaks obviously, and different levels. Um, and then once I'm done with that, I have to do all of them. Then I do all of the coloring. Then I do. So I definitely batch work a lot of things. And I do find creating similar resources like within a month, right? Helps keep my mind on that resource instead of
Yeah.
switching from resource to resource. So like for example, like when I'm doing cubes, I'm doing cubes. Like that's just what I'm
Yes.
working on. When I'm doing craftivities, that's what I'm working on for a long period of time. Because it keeps my brain in that mode. Same thing with previews and things like that. Like when I'm doing previews, I'm doing previews. So I think for shorter work sessions, I think that's where we were going. Besides batching, I would just create small goals.
Mhm.
I'm going to create the covers. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to create the covers, and I'm going to walk away. And then you have a feeling of accomplishment, and you've checked one part of the process off the list. What
Yeah.
do you think?
I totally agree with you. The batching piece, I have longer work sessions, but at the same time, there's a lot that I want to get done in that time since I'm only spending that one day, really, at least one day on it. So I know at this point, I feel like I know, okay, I can, make a template, duplicate it, and add the math. And so then I have like 5 different PowerPoint files on my computer of the actual products. And then I might take some more time to flatten it. And then I take more time to, put it all together. And then I work on the covers. And then I work on the thumbnails and the previews, right? But I try not to like jam it all into one work session because then I feel rushed and then it's not really what I want it to be. So, like you said, just having small goals and saying, okay, at the end of this little 20-minute session, I'm going to be done with my covers and then I need to go do something else because then it gets overwhelming and then I feel stressed that I like didn't get everything done. But having those small goals, I think is super, super helpful.
I think also, along with the small goals and creating like similar resources, I plan out the entire year of resources. So I kind of know what's coming. I don't have to sit and like think about it in
Yes.
January or December. I really like think through the year, think about what events are happening at that time. What do I want to create? Because also, I'm not going to create something that I don't want to because it's like
Right.
at some point this is my time that I'm going to create things that are I like or I like to do because this is my creative outlet. um but I know not everybody would do the whole entire year. I do, but I
I
love checking
tried.
things off.
You got me to do it and I did. I felt accomplished for the first quarter and then like 6 weeks in I was like I am not doing anything that's on this list, but you've knocked it out for even into like several months into like the second quarter. So
Yeah,
it's working for you. I'll have to find
it
another way
is.
to do it, but it's awesome.
I think if you, and if the whole year doesn't work, I think reevaluating quarterly, like, okay,
Right.
this is what I was able to do. Maybe I'll set more realistic goals or I accomplished everything and I need more things to do. And then you set your goals for the next quarter because it is helpful though to know that what you're going to create in the future.
So I know both of us have this problem. I think I might have this more than you do, but the shiny object syndrome. I know we talk about this all the time of like, oh, I have this great idea and I want to jump on it. And it's like, well, but I said I'm going to finish this thing first. So I feel like for me, that's my biggest challenge with work time is like, I finish something and then I have an idea and I'm like, oh, instead of finishing my other project, I want to start this. This is way more fun. I know you are feeling that right now. Um, So, like, what do you think? What would you say to someone else that's like, oh, I have this great idea, but they're not finished with the other pieces first?
Yeah, my advice is to finish what you're working on first. I
Yeah.
definitely have this shiny object syndrome, but my issue is I'll just add it on to everything that I've decided to create, so it just adds more work for me. It doesn't, I don't end up taking something away usually. But I would say finish whatever project you're starting and put it into your content calendar. Be like, this is okay, if that shiny object is the next priority. Like, don't interrupt what you're working on now, is my advice at least.
Yeah, I like that. I know with the yearly planning, uh I know you had set something for like every type of product you were creating, a product that you're updating, things like that. I remember from when I was doing mine, I was like, this is a lot for me to do, even if I just have that one day. So I had set like, I think it was like the last week of every month to be like a catch up week.
Hmm.
And allowing yourself, I feel like, to have that catch up week and not always like, I must do this, I must do this, I must do this. I think it's helpful and it kind of gives you a little breather to catch up, but also have time for those, the shiny objects to appear. And then you have some time to work on those too. So it's
Yeah.
coming up with a schedule and then like kind of being a little bit flexible with it as well.
And I also think like I have more time in the summer. So I end up doing a lot
Yeah.
of the shiny object stuff or catching up on what I didn't get to do previous to like in the year. So yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So, this was our next episode on how to find time to work on TPT. And we hope that you've got a lot of insights. And I would love to hear how you guys spend your time working on TPT, whether it's, 20 minutes after your kids go to bed or if it's all weekend long. Let us know. Just send us a DM or an email, and we'd love to hear from you.